Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and thanks for checking out this episode. This episode is brought to you by autofiber.com, autofiber.ca, and autofiber.com.au. So whether you're in Canada, the US, or Australia, you can check out all the goodies that Autofiber has to offer if you go to those websites. Also brought to you by the DetailerInnerCircle.com. You know, I get asked a lot, where do I start in my detailing business? How do I grow it? How do I get clients? All these things, right? Or how do I build an asset that one day I can sell my business as an asset, not just the equipment that I use? And we have tons of modules. We have ongoing Q&A calls, marketing tips. We stay abreast with the latest and greatest in the marketing space. And I partnered up with a buddy of mine named Pete, who's a marketing expert. I tailor everything towards the detailers and kind of have the detailing side of everything handled. But if you're even remotely interested in any of the things I just said, I encourage you to check out DetailerInnerCircle.com. Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 397. Woo! Closing in on that 400 mark of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and today we have a really special guest that I'm excited about. I ghosted him for a while, but I'm redeeming myself right now. We met in person a month or so ago, and I think a lot of you are going to know him by his book, The Detailer's Dictionary. That is none other than Chris Evans. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing this. And again, I just will publicly apologize. Chris called me. Well, we met at Chris West's place, his meetup. Yeah. I don't know when that was, a month or two ago now, and maybe less, who knows. And had a phenomenal conversation there. I'd obviously seen the Detailer's Dictionary before, but I'd never kind of met the man behind it. And then I was like, yeah, man, let's for sure. You told me you're out here now. I'm like, let's connect, blah, blah, blah. You did. You called me like almost 2 weeks ago. I ghosted you and then called you back this morning. So I apologize for that.
You know what? No worries. It's all good. I understand that life happens. Things come up, so no biggie. Don't sweat it.
So I'm sure a lot of detailers have either seen on the Facebook groups or have heard about it, maybe even picked it up as they should. This really valuable resource that you created called the Detailer's Dictionary, and we'll get into that. But before we get there, you actually have, not to discredit the Detailer Dictionary at all, but you have a very cool position that I feel is maybe not unique, and I was just naive to it. But I feel like a very unique and a very cool position in the kind of auto detailing space. So why don't you tell us how you got into detailing? I think you said over 30 years you've been in it, and then kind of what your main bread and butter role is.
Okay. Well, I initially got in July, made my 31st year in the industry, and I started on my mom's Pinto. That was basically the only way that I can drive to impress a girl. And I didn't get the girl, but I kind of got bit by the bug. So various jobs over the years, I've always detailed in between weekends, nights, whenever I was available to. And what was the follow-up question? I'm sorry.
Just, basically that. I like to kind of lead people down the road or let the listeners kind of hear how not only you got into it, but how kind of the evolution of how you got to where you're at now.
Okay. Basically my last, 9-to-5 job was a semi-truck for a GM supplier. And I got laid off from there, and that was an opportunity for me to just detail full time. And in doing so, I've done pretty much everything where I've been in dealerships. I've had my own mobile company in Chicago, and I've done brick and mortar. And I've also basically how I landed out here in California was I finished negotiating the contract with the vendor company through Manheim. And I was working with 2 locations out here in California for Manheim in their detail departments. And my career is just, it's kind of all over the place, but it's good. The one thing about me and my career is that I've always said that I will do detailing no matter what. Once I hopped out of that semi truck, that was it. I didn't look back, even where times were tight. and things were hard and unsure and accounts weren't coming in, I just stuck with it. And, I guess it's kind of one of those what you put out comes back, because the
Yep.
industry has been great to me. Networking, meeting friends, people that I call genuine friends, not just saying that they're friends.
Yep. Big
Because
difference.
a friend is, yeah, a friend is how I ended up getting out here to California.
Tell us about that.
A
So
friend
let's
is-
dive into that. Sorry to cut you off, but I think that'll be an
Yeah.
interesting story too. So where are you from originally, and where did you come from last? Is it still the same place, and then out to California? Tell us about it.
Okay. Well, born and raised in Chicago, and yes, I am a Bears fan, and that is simply because I'm loyal.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Hey,
and,
I'm a
went
Lakers
over-
fan, and I'm loyal right now, okay? I was there before Shaq and Kobe, and I was there. I'll be there after. So I'm with you. I know it's a
Okay,
different
so you
sport,
get-
but I feel your pain.
Yeah. So, born and raised in Chicago. I've lived in a few different places, but my last place of residency was in Ohio, just over a year ago before moving out here. And I've been here for just over a year now. Aside from my time at the auction, I've pretty much been traveling back and forth across the country, consulting with different dealerships.
Got it.
So now,
Mhm.
SoCal, as you guys like to call it, is my home state now.
Yep. Not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
It's been a little
Sunshine,
hot
palm
lately,
trees,
though.
can't beat it.
It's been a little hot lately. I mean, you're probably used to that, but because it's been a little humid too. Not as bad as you're used to, but for us, it has been. So, what were you doing for the auction house when they brought you out here? What did that look like? Because I've never, like I told you earlier on the phone, I've talked to detailers like Barry Thiel and a few others who, at one point in their career, or maybe they still do, I don't know, but service auction houses, right? And that's been very profitable. Or dealership detailers. June Jones was one. Billy Bogus was doing dealership stuff.
Yeah.
So I've had a few dealership detailers as well, but I think your position within dealerships or auction houses is a little bit different. So what were you doing?
Yeah, the auction houses out here was basically they needed a consultant and a manager. They needed a combo of the both because their departments needed some training and retraining. And they basically were angling to get the Tesla account, and they kind of needed a name and a face to go with it, someone that was credible and knew their, stuff to come on board. So again, after about, I don't know, I would say about 3 months of negotiating back and forth, flying back and forth out here to California, we finally sealed the deal. I came out, I moved out here, and basically my role was I came into the Anaheim location. And at that location is where I ran the detail department. I streamlined the processes. I wrote the standard operating procedure for dealing with Tesla and high-end vehicles at the auction house. And from there, I transferred over to Riverside, which their processes are pretty streamlined. They're pretty okay in place, but there was a few tweaks and edits that they needed to do to deal with the training and the actual processes themselves. And my job now, as far as what I do, the bread and butter of Detailers Dictionary, is the consulting aspect. And that entails me basically flying around the country. Once a dealership books an appointment, I go in and consult for their detail department. I look at their standard operating procedure, if they have one, if they need to revise it. I give an assessment of the facility. Their new cars, used cars, safety, efficiency, things like that. And I issue them a report at the end of it. I go over the evaluation that from my assessment, see that they're happy with the things that I pointed out. I give them the advice and the guidance that they need to go forward to not only streamline the detail department, but hopefully turn it into a profit center. So that's my job now. Well, that's part of my job now. Right now, I'm actually consulting with a car wash family out here in California, Russell Fisher, that is keeping me here in California for a little while, which I'll be here. But this particular car wash dealership has full service as well, so they offer detailing and ceramics as well. So yeah, I'm basically doing the same thing, with the dealerships at this car wash now. And again, their process isn't bad. There's just edits and tweaks and streamlining things to get it more efficient, having everyone on the same page, and things have been going pretty well.
So I have a follow-up question, I guess, of like how you even figured out what you do is a position. But before we kind of transition to that, can you maybe give us a hint as to a couple things that you're tweaking? Because like you mentioned, like overall their process is pretty good, right? But you as kind of the expert are able to come in and see what's not efficient or effective or ideal. What are a couple, you don't have to go over everything obviously, but what are a couple examples of things that you have seen with a car wash or an auction house or whatever that, is it they don't have a bucket on a rolling cart, or they don't have air compressors, or they have too many air compressors? Like, what are a couple maybe common things that you see these dealerships or auction houses making a mistake? Because I feel like it may transition and flow down to maybe a fixed location detail shop.
Funny you should ask, and I was just recently asked this question, and the common thing that I find is processes. A lot of companies, whether it's auction houses, dealerships, it really doesn't matter. A lot of people don't have a process that they follow that's consistent, that makes it easy for a new hire to come in and just learn it. They're kind of in that mindset of, hey, we've been doing it this way for so long, it's been working. And it's like, yeah, but you can do things more efficiently because, okay, as an example, grit guards are a common industry thing that people do not use. They don't use a 2-bucket method, and they don't use grit guards. So that's what I'm finding a lot of common across the country is the things as far as the simple wash process. They're just not in place or enforced.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then I'm sure it gets more complex from there, but I don't want to give any or all of your secrets away. I'm really interested in this though. How did you figure out that, did you even know what you're doing now that you could do it and make a career out of it? Did you even know it was a position? Was there someone that you saw doing it and you were like, wow, that seems awesome? Did it kind of just come out of nowhere? How did you get into the position that you're in?
Honestly, I've known about it for a while with this position, with this type of work. And my first introduction to it was Prentice St. Clair. And I've actually, spoken with Prentice a few times, going over my contract, things with my book, and definitely one of the best leading guys in the industry. He truly is an honor to talk to him, to meet him. So if you guys don't know who he is, you definitely need to do your homework on him. He was definitely a valuable resource and asset to me with, learning more about this business. And it was basically calls from previous detailers and dealerships, that really kind of solidified it and got the ball rolling where, I was back and forth between Ohio and Illinois a lot because of, that was a place of residency for me in both states. And dealerships would call back like, hey, Chris, you were here, or we heard about you, from our detailer. We like to talk and see if you can, help us out with our department. We're running across these issues, and, we've done a little research and vetted me basically to see if I was a credible person, if the hype was true, basically. And they reached out to their industry contacts. So from there is that's what pretty much got the ball rolling, was word of mouth. I mean, it's just like business in a sense where, everyone can afford a 30-second commercial or radio advertisement or, putting ads in the paper and things like that. So, they really rely on word of mouth. And that was something that I did with my mobile business, was word of mouth. I went the first year with no business cards and 2 years with no website. And I ran the mobile business strictly off of word of mouth. Word of mouth, good prices, and quality work. Seriously. So, and that's basically the same model that I took with the consulting, where it's like, yeah, you can call almost anyone in the industry that knows me or worked with me or that I've worked for. And I don't have a bad reputation, and it's not being boisterous. I'm
Sure.
just
No.
upfront and honest, and I don't sugarcoat. I put things on the table, and I give a person what it is that they're asking for.
Yep. Love that. And you know what's crazy about that is it seems, especially in this world, that it seems like everyone's trying to be politically correct or have the like perfect answer to something, or be a yes man or whatever. I'm finding, and maybe you find it too, like the more you are yourself and the more honest you are with people, companies, whatever, the more people like you. Before we jumped on this call earlier today, I was doing a not a webinar, but I was doing a Google Hangout with a company that's doing an app for mobile people, right? And they're like, "So what do you think?"
Okay.
And I was like, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't think you have it hasn't even launched yet, but I'm like, they're like, "Well, do you think we have a viable product yet?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "That is such valuable information." And I'm like, really? Just like being honest? I thought it was so weird. Like, and it's happened to me before. Like, wow, just being honest gets you so much further than trying to give them the answer that they're looking for, or that it would make them feel better. So it sounds like you being a straight shooter kind of helps you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, honesty, as they say, is the best policy, and it is because, I mean, at the end of the day, a person doesn't necessarily have to like me, but they definitely have a respect for me. Because it's one of those, what you put out, you get back. So I'm always respectful. I'm always professional. I'm very huge on that, personally and professionally. So, like now, working, with the managers that I'm working with at all of these different locations. I mean, that was the number one thing that came out of my mouth is, we're gonna start and end this thing on respect. And professionalism. That was the very first words came out of my mouth. And that is basically the life and motto that I try to live by. I always do my best to be respectful and be professional. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I am one of the biggest class clowns, one of the biggest smack talkers ever. So, yeah.
I get that sense too. Like you could put up a fight with some words. Like that would be fun.
Oh yeah. You may stump me every once in a while, and it may take me a little bit to come back. But yeah, I'll definitely get back.
You'll get the last word. I love that. So then, as you're doing this around the country, and I guess knowing more about your background, it makes the Detailer's Dictionary make more sense, I guess. But what was the kind of the genesis of the Detailer's Dictionary? Was it seeing these these flaws in stuff as simple as the wash process in dealerships, or what? Because when I thumbed through the book, I'm like, holy crap, like this had to have taken a long time just to think about all the words, let alone write it down and be like, this is what a grit guard is. And how, I mean, for me, kudos to you, because that would be so frustrating to me of like, this is what a microfiber towel means. This is what it is. And then how do you think of everything? You know what I mean? So
okay,
tell us about it.
So the premise of the book, it basically started because of I had already started writing, and I had no direction of where I was going and what I was going to do and what type of format it was going to be. I was just literally writing down notes and notepads, and at the end of the day, once I got done with all the paperwork and checking on employees' work vans and things like that, free time, I would just, jot down notes, this is what this means. This is a topic that the industry needs to know about. So it basically all came together when I did Mike Phillips' show, Competition Ready. The first season of that, after shooting, we were all at at the bar at the hotel, a restaurant at the hotel, whatever it was. But we were talking shop, basically. And the thing that came up was, how do we communicate? How do we speak the same language? Detailing to our customers, how do we transition that? And from that conversation and Starbucks, those are the two things that basically brought about Detailer's Dictionary, because being at Starbucks, I had never been, and it was during the shooting of Competition Ready where
you had never been to Starbucks?
I had never been.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So I went and I ordered a small black coffee.
Yep.
and everyone in line, even the lady behind the counter, they started laughing. And I'm looking around like, what's so funny? It's just a small cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So the lady asked me, "Do you want venti?" Or I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't speak Italian or Spanish. I
Right.
just want a small coffee. And it's like the more I talk, the more they laugh. And it's like I don't speak Starbucks.
Right.
So walking away from that experience during the time of doing the show, it's like people need something to learn Starbucks, what all of these different things mean, because new
Right.
people like me, I'm walking in blind and getting laughed at. I mean, I didn't take it personal.
Sure.
Well, I guess I did, but from those experiences, from those two things is basically what brought it together, where it's like, okay, this needs to be universal.
Right.
So I reached out, to people like Gideon King or, over there in guitar, Brett Urell. I just literally reached out all over the world, like, hey, here's a rough draft of what I'm putting together. What do you think? What are
Right.
your thoughts? Am I on the right track? And everyone was definitely helpful and receptive of it,
Mm-hmm.
and gave me the thumbs up, like, yeah, you're on track. Go ahead. We can't wait. And I just, it took about 5 years to finally complete and publish. But when I did, it was that thing of, let me just get this out here just so people have a baseline and they know that this is, universal knowledge. Like detailing is pretty much the same all across the world. There's different lingo, I guess, certain words, like we may say buffing over here and they may say polishing over in the UK, but it means
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
So it was just that universal language that not just only transcended to detailers, but for, new people in the industry, the do-it-yourself people, or even the consumer,
Right.
just so they can have a baseline of, okay, I understand the difference between compound wax and polish and what a sealant and a ceramic is. I mean, like, there's people now, to my surprise, globally, they're using the book as like a requirement for their classes. Like over in Vietnam, I was surprised. Getting orders and questions from people in South Africa and Greece, and it's just really a wildfire that's spreading. And I'm glad because the industry needed it. They
Totally.
needed that one baseline thing, and I was more than happy to put it out there. So the reward of people getting the education and learning and teaching, that is payment and reward enough for me. So I think I've left my mark, my legacy with it. I'm happy with it. And more importantly, the consumers and the detailers are happy with it. So as long as someone can get something, even for the pros, it's just a reference point. I love to get a call or a message that, hey, your book is helpful because, having someone read this as a new hire has cut my training time down.
Yep.
With, well, what does this mean and why that? And it's like, so yeah, it's great. It is the greatest feeling.
Especially for someone who maybe a business owner that has been in it for a while that isn't as either eloquent with their words or isn't sure how to kind of dumb stuff down to a beginner's level because they've been doing it so long. But I see the common thread of like you're doing this education or this kind of baseline training or systems training on the dealership and the auction house level, right? But it's all kind of the same common thread, even with the book. It's like creating a baseline to base everything off of. But if you don't understand the fundamentals or the foundational layer of it, you can't get to those additional layers effectively, efficiently, and profitably, right? So it's kind of the whole same. I love it. It's like the same thread, just kind of in different ways. And it's crazy to me, too, that no one had done that before. But when I started thumbing through the book, I'm like, this is why no one has done this. This seems painful to do it. I mean, what a valuable resource, not taken away from it. Just for you, it seems like painful. But I'm glad someone did it.
It's basically the core knowledge of detailing,
Yes.
meanings, words, terminologies. That's what it is. I mean, I would never sit and try to write a book on Rupes, products or polishers. I just wouldn't do that simply because the one that Mike Phillips has done already is excellent. There doesn't need to be another one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people learn things in different ways and in their own way and in their own time.
Right.
And I'm not trying to saturate the market or discredit anybody. I mean, like Mike Phillips' books are great. I mean, I've referenced his books,
Sure.
let me look and see if I'm on track. I don't want to, say the same thing that he's saying. I
Right.
want to have that universal message in it. Rennie's book, and I have both of those. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I looked at everything, magazines, professional car washing detailing magazine. I've looked at everything,
Mm-hmm.
over the years in writing this book because it was, again, just the core knowledge, just the basics. You
Right.
have to start like going through school.
Yep.
You start, from first grade up into high school and college and, skilled trades and crafts. And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a process, but you always have to have a baseline of everything,
Yes.
especially when it comes to education and in the detail profession. You just have to have those core, knowledgeable things that you obtain. You can't learn everything from a YouTube video.
Right.
You can learn, and it's just a different format of learning, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
that resource, that's there as a reference.
I love that. I love that. We're not ending, but I want to say, just since we're on the topic, if people want to pick up this book or check it out, where can they go to get it?
They can go to www.detailersdictionary.com, and they can buy it in paperback or ebook, and they can also get it in paperback or ebook off of Amazon as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay. If I
Yeah.
remember, I'll try to link it up below. But that's cool too that it's an ebook or in physical copy as well. But I think it's a great resource, especially if you're trying to hire people or bring them on, just a part of that kind of onboarding process. Because, like you said, the basic foundational knowledge is so important when it's like, hey, go grab that grit guard. But a new hire
Mhm.
maybe like, what? Like, what's a grit guard? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or go grab
and
that APC, and you're like, wait, what?
yeah, it's universal. Trust me, it is universal across the country. Actually, the world. People just don't know, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because now, instead of you taking that time to, hey, this is a grit guard, this is what it does, this is what it's for. Do you place it in the bucket? This is how you use. Instead of going through all of that, taking that time to go
Right.
over so many different aspects of detailing with chemicals, equipment, and tools. And it's like, you have a book that you can cut that time down drastically.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what people are doing.
I love that. I love that. What's your one thing that is exciting you most about the detailing industry right now, or is it car washes starting to do ceramic coatings? Actually, that leads me to a whole nother question. But what's one thing that's really exciting you about the detailing industry, or one product, or one solution, or one, I don't know, could be a detail brush, could be anything.
Um, Honestly, I guess it's kind of a twofold answer, but I would have to say that it's the growth of knowledge in the industry, and not just educational, not just book smart, not just skill level, but the knowledge of friendships and networking and business. Like the industry is exploding right now
Mm-hmm.
in every aspect, from distributors, suppliers, manufacturers,
Yep.
vendors. Everyone is growing, everyone is networking and communicating and developing friendships and learning, in every aspect of detailing, every aspect of it. And then, of course, the educational part is definitely exciting to me because I see more educational events. People aren't just throwing a meet and greet. They're throwing a meet and greet, but you hear and you see so many conversations of,
Mm.
hey, what do you think about this when it comes to marketing? Or in my demographic area, this is my customer base. I mean, the educational aspect in the industry is so huge right now. I mean, when you look at the guys like Zen Wire and Rennie Doyle, look at the things that Rennie's doing right now. I mean, with the Mafia, with I believe it's weekly webinars that they have. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the IDA, it's unbelievable the growth of how, knowledge is being spread like everywhere. New chapters in different countries being opened. It's just amazing.
That is
So
amazing.
that's what I see right now.
Got it. What so car washes and ceramic coatings. So, yeah, coatings and dealerships. Now, to me, when I know the dealership brand that you're working for, the Russell Fisher, I see them around because I'm local to Huntington Beach and whatever. The first one I realized was, I think, on Beach Boulevard, they started doing Ceramic Pro right by the Toyota dealership. And when I saw it, I was like, that seems like a really bad idea. And here's why I thought it, and then correct me where I'm probably totally off base. I thought about it from Ceramic Pro is pretty finicky to apply. And if you don't have a properly trained person, it can go really south really fast. Am I totally off base from that standpoint? Because I also think at the same time that a lot of customers and a lot of people go through a car wash. And even if that car wash never does one coating, just the fact that they're offering ceramic coatings is getting it into the mainstream lexicon of consumers, people, buyers. So even if the customer never gets a coating done there, they're still seen and being pitched the option. So I do think it helps detailers that car washes do it. I just think for the car wash, it seems like kind of a bad idea. But then again, maybe that's why you have a job, to fix that. So fill me in.
Okay. First of all, you are absolutely correct that Ceramic Pro is a finicky product. That's why they have certified installers applying it. And honestly, I don't even know if it's available for the consumer to just purchase as a do-it-yourselfer. I really don't know on that aspect.
I don't think it is. I meant more so like they see it, and then maybe we'll do research and find other detailers, and the car wash may be doing a good job as just getting it out there at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's branding, of course, not just for them, but, for both companies. But the installers, I can say, are certified installers at the for full service that does it. They are trained. They went through the Ceramic Pro training and have their credentials with it. And again, it's to me, when I first heard and seen it, it's like, wow, really? And I was just like you, like, how does that work? It's like, okay, it's an enclosed space. I see you guys close the door when applying, and it's like, okay, I really had to have eyes on and see it firsthand myself to see the application and the process of it. And those guys are killing it. They're doing a phenomenal job, not just because I work for the company, but, I mean, I actually sit and watch them pay attention to detail. I see how they take tiles and mark, and they only move from section to section. They don't go over the whole car, or they're really, really keen on the details of what they're doing when they're performing it. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job at it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I think that's all I got. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure we covered? But I felt like you were very clear, concise on what you did, how it related to each other, and everything.
Right.
Was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure you got across?
I would like to touch bases basically on the networking and the relationships, the friendships in the industry.
Yep.
I mean, it took us a little bit of time, to finally, get together and have this here. But it's no big deal because, I mean, when you told me everything that you were going through, it's like, wow, dude, seriously, and you still have time to talk to me right now? So, I mean, life happens, things happen,
Sure.
Things come up. But, I mean, the importance of reaching out, staying connected,
Yep.
if, developing those friendships, because you really, really never know.
You never know.
What friendship opportunity,
100%.
I mean, it's beneficial for people to definitely reach out. And I wouldn't be me if I didn't stress again the significance and importance of education, whether it's formal, informal, get off of Facebook, get off of YouTube. We're trying to learn everything and be the best detailer in the country. You have to have practical experience where you're talking and networking and having mentors in the industry that's going to help you and guide you through some of the processes, whether that's a a hard clear coat on a car, or it may be something with your marketing, and again, I definitely have to stress the significance and importance of the IDA. I definitely feel that everyone that is in a detail profession needs to sign up and be a member, because without the IDA, I would not be here and be, the guy that I am right now in my career without them. So yes, definitely a valuable resource for people. It's not what do you get out of it. You get way more than you put into it. Trust me. If you don't believe it, look at me. Because in my career, all I was doing was basically brick and mortar and mobile detailing. But because of the IDA, it led into the Competition Ready show. It led into, the biggest contract out here. So those friendships are definitely important. And, again, if you're not a member, you should definitely sign up for the IDA. And that's about it. That's all I pretty much wanted to cover. Unless you have anything else, I'm pretty good.
No, I'm just going to kind of piggyback on what you just said, because it's insane. A lot of times on Facebook, especially in these detailing Facebook groups, we could see kind of the worst of people, right? But I'm right there with you. I realized when you go to things like SEMA or even Mobile Tech or these other event, the industry night we had at Chris West's place, like, in that room were a lot of people that don't get along with each other, right? That have fought it out online. However, they still were together in the same room, networking with all different kinds of people. And as we all know, beef is a lot different online than it is face to face, right? And one thing I realized from going to these events is like, man, the detailers are really awesome people. And I think it is due to the fact that it's kind of a scrappy industry, hardworking people, like just trying to DIYers, just kind of grinding it out, and they really are awesome people. So I want to echo what you said. Get out there, meet other people that are even in your same city, country, county, whatever, right? Network with them, because you never know when you're going to be able to either pass business with them, when you're going to need their help, when you're going to need to leverage their connections to meet other people. And even like this, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't meet each other at Chris's place. I mean, maybe, but maybe it would have taken longer. You know what I mean? Because I had seen your stuff, I just never reached out. Maybe you had reached out to me. I don't even know. But I would like to think that if it wasn't for that event, the push for us to connect and do this definitely wouldn't have been there. And I think this is an extremely valuable episode. And if I could be selfish, I'm glad that we made the connection and that we can text. And I had completely forgot that you were so close to me. So for some reason, I thought you were still in Illinois. So
I don't know why people still think I'm in Chicago. I got out here to California with the sunshine and palm trees, and my allergies hasn't kicked up. So it's like, it's kind of hard to go back, for visits and work. But this is where I definitely will retire from is in California.
It's not a bad place to be. There's some bad parts about it, bad things about it, but overall, it's not a bad place to be. So when you can be from the ocean to the mountains all in one day, it's a good place. Good place.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So if people want to find you, I know you already mentioned the detailersdictionary.com and all that, but if they want to reach out to you, if there happens to be a detailer that wants you to come in and do some consulting with them, or just in general, how can people find you?
They can call me. I will take a call if I'm available. If I'm not, on site or in a meeting, I will definitely give a call back or email. So you can reach me either by email at Detailer Dictionary, detailer without the S, detailerdictionary@gmail.com, or they can call me at 630-670-5023.
Awesome, Chris. This has been amazing, and thank you again for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, if there's anything that you need or something that I can help out with in some type of way, feel free to reach out. I'm here. No problem.